This is TWiT.
It's been quite a busy couple of weeks for those who happen to be following everything happening in Tesla and Elon Musk land. Every day, there seems to be a new story. It's kind of hard to keep up with it all. Some might say a new distraction. Joining us to pick it all apart is Sam Abuelsamid, Senior Research Analyst at Navigant Research and host of the Wheel Bearings podcast. Welcome back, Sam.
Hey, Jason. Great to be back again.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you back. I'm doing great. It's nice to see you on the stream here. So first, there's so many things that we can talk about here. Let's start with Elon's kind of string of distractions, it seems like. Obviously, there's the story of the Thai soccer team that was trapped in the cave just a few days ago. It was super hard to ignore that story. Everybody was following this closely. Elon wanted to get involved, and in the end, he actually flew a few submarines, if I'm not mistaken, out to help in the effort to save the kids that were trapped in the cave, but was a bit too late. That all happened prior to his involvement. Now a bunch of people are saying that he's more of an opportunist than an altruist, and I'm not sure where I stand on this. What do you think?
I think that, the reality, such as it is probably somewhere in between the two. I think that Elon, does have a good heart, and I think his heart's in the right place. With all the stuff that he does, I think that he really he believes in the things he's doing, whether it's going to Mars or building EVs or, trying to get us off fossil fuels. I think in his heart, he believes all that stuff. He's really into it. At the same time, though, I think that he's not actually very good at executing on a lot of this stuff. Because his businesses are struggling and they have been for a long time. I mean, they've never really been profitable. And right now, with Tesla in particular, he's going into a period where, they just came out of the second quarter where they did a mad rush in the last week of June to get 5,000 cars, 5,000 Model 3s completed. Doesn't mean they actually completely built 5,000 cars in a week, but they got 5,000 complete cars out during that final 7 days. And, now he's committed to making the company, having the company be profitable in the third and fourth quarters. And I think, there was a lot of people skeptical about, whether he can really do all this stuff. And so, and he was starting to get a lot of criticism for that. So I think part of it is, he's found a way to distract people, because a lot of the success of Tesla, in terms of, on the money side, has been because people believe in Elon and his vision. It's not so much that they've actually executed all that well in the cars. I mean, they've done some stuff very good. They've proven the viability of electric cars, but there's still a lot of problems with Tesla and the cars they build. And he really needs to, a lot of the people that have invested in the company and put money into the company, if you look at the Tesla forums and look at what the fans say, it's really all about believing in Elon and his vision. And so, by doing some of this stuff, I think he feels like he can buff up that, even if the companies may be struggling a little bit, he can buff up the cult of personality around him, which is what helps to keep the companies going financially.
Oh, that's a really good point. And it's not like he hasn't achieved some of these things, right? Like there was the South Australian power grid thing, and I think that's still an active process. It's not like that's dead in the water. He's his involvement is still active there. There was another power outage issue that he got involved with as well.
There's some stuff he was doing in Puerto Rico. There's been a number of projects, with power projects. Again, not making any money on any of that stuff yet, or even close to it. So they've struggled, and they've scrambled to get some of that stuff going. Now the Boring Company, this deal in Chicago to try to dig a tunnel from downtown Chicago out to O'Hare Airport, claims he can do it for $1 billion. Pretty much nobody believes that he can do it for anywhere near that cost. So in order to do all this stuff, he's got to keep raising money because they don't make enough money from the businesses to fund all the things that he wants to do. And the only way to make any sense out of the people investing in the company is because they're investing in him and their belief in their faith in Elon, not so much the faith in the company itself. And so this is a way to like I say, to buff up that image of Elon to help keep the money rolling in.
And then it kind of seems like it's tipping over the other side. And another one that we just heard, I think, in the last couple of days is his dedication on Twitter to help Flint, Detroit, the Detroit area, Flint, with their toxicity in the water problem, which is a huge deal. Obviously, someone really, people really want this to happen. It's kind of potentially a very big humanitarian crisis as far as that's concerned. So why not Elon? But then there are a lot of critics.
The thing is, in Flint, the water crisis there, is something that's been going on for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
This is not a new thing that has just popped up this weekend.
Right.
If he really was interested, it's like, why didn't he step up 2 years ago to help fund, these repairs to the water system in Flint? Clearly, the state of Michigan has handled the situation extremely badly, and it's the state that caused the problem in the first place. The current administration is what caused the problem, but he could have stepped up any time in the last couple of years. The fact that he's doing it now, I think, is not coincidental.
Sure, it's good timing as far as that's concerned. Now, critics include one of Tesla's biggest shareholders, who basically is saying that Elon needs to rein it in, needs to focus on the stuff that he has direct control over. Obviously, one of those things would be Model 3 production. We've heard in recent weeks that that's all over the place, that there have been a lot of hiccups. And actually, Bloomberg published a pretty deep dive on this morning on the background behind Model 3 production. And some of it is very bleak. I'm not sure if you had a chance to read through that, but did any of that kind of line up with things that you had already heard as far as how Model 3 production is happening? And do you think these distractions are pulling Elon away from where he needs to be?
I think that's absolutely the case. I mean, Elon Musk is the CEO of two major companies, and I guess he's CEO of Boring Company as well. And he's got all kinds of other side projects. And particularly in the case of Tesla, Tesla is a public company. They have a responsibility to their shareholders. They also have a responsibility to their customers to deliver, high quality products, reliable products. And as the CEO of the company, it's his responsibility to make sure that the company is executing. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't be involved in this other stuff. I have no issue with people getting involved in various kinds of philanthropic projects that are going to help make society better. But if it's taking away from his job, I think he does need to make a decision about what is he going to focus on? Is he going to focus on the company, and making sure that the company can survive, or is he going to focus on these other projects? If he wants to focus on these other projects, he probably should step aside as CEO. And frankly, I think regardless of the other projects, I think he should probably step aside as CEO, because while I admire his vision, I think that he's a terrible manager, and he's not actually very good at running companies. He's good at inspiring people, but not very good at running companies on a day-to-day basis. And it would probably be for the best if he did step aside as CEO and brought in people that actually know how to run the company on a day-to-day basis and operate it successfully. So I think he needs to make some hard decisions in his life.
Wow, I didn't expect you to say that. Have you felt this for a while? Have you felt that Elon might need to kind of step aside? And I imagine kind of recent news solidifies that for you.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying that for a long time, that I think that Elon is not a great manager. I admire his vision. And the fact that electric vehicles have come as far as they have, in the last 10 years, isn't due in large part to that vision, and his efforts to get Tesla going, along with all the other people that have been part of that. Yeah. Similarly on the rocket side, with SpaceX, with commercial space flight, his efforts with SpaceX, have really pushed that industry forward. So I totally admire what he's trying to do and his vision. But I think that in order to really succeed at that, you have to, there's having a vision, and then you've got to be able to execute on that vision in order to have a sustainable business over the long run. And I think that he needs to, step aside from trying to do everything, trying to be the one guy that can run the company, because when you've got an operation that size, one person cannot do everything. You have to delegate, and he's terrible at delegating. He will not give up control to anyone else, and he needs to do that.
Yeah, I hear there's this other guy that's possibly looking for a job, Travis Kalanick. Yeah, probably a bad idea. And then finally, I also saw an article right before the show about the fact that the EV tax credit, the electric vehicle tax credit of $7,500, is about to go away. And that's always kind of been obviously a huge incentive for people buying Tesla vehicles. How do you think that's going to affect the Model 3 and all of their other vehicle sales going forward?
Yeah, when the tax credit program for EVs was set up about 10 years ago, they said it. The idea was to jumpstart the EV industry and get these vehicles into the marketplace, and to incentivize people to buy them. So the federal tax credit had a cap for each manufacturer of 200,000 vehicles, and once you've sold 200,000 EVs, then it starts to phase out. And so apparently Tesla hit that 200,000 sales threshold in the U.S. At the end of June, and so now starting in the fourth quarter of this year. So starting for anybody who buys a car after October 1st, for the next 6 months, that $7,500 drops to $3,750, and then from March 1st of next year, it drops again to $1,725, and then by October of next year, it's gone completely. So what that means, for people buying Model S's and X's, those cars start at $75,000, $80,000, go up to $140,000, $150,000. Those people probably aren't going to care all that much. I mean, if you can afford a $100,000 car, the $7,500 tax credit is not as big a deal. Where it's going to hurt is all those people that were counting on buying a $35,000 Model 3, which so far they have not delivered one of those, not even a single one. Every Model 3 delivered has cost a minimum of about $47,000 so far. So people that were hoping to, people that are mainstream customers, the kind of people that buy Honda Accords and Toyota Camrys and Ford Fusions, that were hoping to maybe get into a Model 3 and get that $7,500 tax credit, that brings it down into the mid $20,000 to upper $20,000 price range of one of those cars. They're not going to have that opportunity now. Yeah. Or at least if they don't get it before October, they won't have that opportunity. It'll be a significantly more expensive car, and I think that's going to hurt their sales.
Yeah, I think so too. But I suppose we've still got a little bit of a ramp up until that happens. So we'll probably talk about it when that does actually happen. Sam Abuelsamid, Navigant Research, obviously Wheel Bearings podcast, but navigantresearch.com. Where do you want people to follow you online?
You can follow me on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook. You can find the stuff I write on Forbes. Just look for my name on Forbes. Just Google my name and you'll find me all over the place. I write on the Navigant Research blog. Dan Roth and I do the Wheel Bearings podcast more or less every week at wheelbearings.media. So just look for me and you'll find me somewhere.
Awesome. Sam, it's been great getting you on again. Thank you.
I'm glad to be here, Jason.
We'll
Have a great
to you
day.
soon. You too.